We're going to go ahead and get started. Anybody that will be watching this later, it will be recorded and it will be uploaded tonight. We're having trouble with our box that allows us to live stream the board meeting, but hopefully we can get that worked out. But we will have a video of the board meeting uploaded as soon as we can. So Ms. Isford, if you would, we'll get started.
Hello everyone. Sorry, we've been having a little technical difficulty, but I don't think I was turned on. I said good evening everyone. Welcome to our board meeting tonight. We've been having a little technical difficulty. We're trying to get everything up and going, so we apologize for that. We'd like to welcome everyone, and we'd like to stand at this time to say our pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. To any of our visitors, I'd just like to remind you, if you'd like to sign in, there's a sign-in sheet here. Mr. Saylor, do we have any revisions to our board agenda?
No, we do not have any revisions, so we're good to go.
Okay, at this time, we'd like to start with some of our recognitions of people in our community and within our district. We'd like to start with our mountain movers this evening.
Let me go up and check my box.
Okay. If you guys could just bear with us for just a few moments. We are still having a little technical difficulty, but we'll be right back with you in just a moment. We apologize for this.
Yeah.
Yeah. The magic wand?
Yeah. Keep cool.
Okay, hopefully we'll be able to get back to some of our normal activities, hopefully this coming month, as we continue to see improvement in our COVID numbers. But again, we're going to recognize our three mountain movers this month, and we'll make sure that we get the information and get everything to them. But our three mountain movers for this month, first of all, for our community, we would like to recognize the Estill County Health Department. And Director is Elizabeth Walling. And we are very appreciative of our health department and the support that they have given us as a school district. It's been really tough on everybody involved, but if you're working in healthcare, you're working at the health department, and you know, you're dealing with the number of COVID cases that we've had to deal with and the number of quarantines. It's good to have a partner with us that we can depend on. So the Estill County Health Department has served Estill County for over 75 years. They offer 15 health and wellness programs in addition to their day-to-day operations. Director Walling says she is proud of the efforts and response the health department staff has put forward to combat COVID-19 while working with the schools and our students. So we're very appreciative of the Estill County Health Department.
Congratulations to the Estill County Health Department.
Our classified mountain mover this month is Miss Becky Woolery. Becky, of course, is the cafeteria clerk at Estill County High School. This is her 8th year of employment, and Becky says that she loves her job. She said she loves to make the kids laugh and always let them know they are wanted and loved. And I tell you what, I know that our food service workers have went above and beyond, and I lost count of the number of meals, and it was into the thousands upon thousands of meals that they have served. Even when our students were at home remotely, our cafeteria staff was reporting, and they were making the meals, and our transportation staff, along with our bus monitors, were delivering those meals. And they went above and beyond to make sure that our students were fed during this pandemic. And if we have to get to the point that that happens again, we know that they'll be there working for us again and working for the parents and for especially the students of our community. So congratulations to Miss Becky Worry, who is our classified mountain mover of the month. And finally, our certified mountain mover is Miss Erica Adams. And everyone knows that Erica, of course, is our district health coordinator, and she's been with the school system now for 17 years. And Erica has been a registered nurse for 27 years. And she has done a fantastic job when it comes down to helping us provide the public, our parents, and our students with the guidance that we need in order to try to navigate through this pandemic. She has done a lot of work in that area, and sometimes has taken a lot of needless criticism, but she has done it with, she's listened to people, and she's done it with grace, and she's worked hard, and her nursing staff has worked hard. So it's really a testimony to our entire nursing staff in our schools, and we're very appreciative of what they've done. And I sort of think it's sort of nice that we're honoring not only Miss Erica today as our health services coordinator, and in turn, the nurses that work under her and along with our health department, because without those two groups, we could not have navigated through the most recent months and throughout this entire pandemic. So Miss Erica Adams is our certified mountain mover this month.
Great, congratulations to everyone, and we wish you could be here with us in person. But we appreciate you, and thank you very much, Mr. Saylor.
You're welcome.
Moving right along to our facilities and construction updates. First of all, on our agenda, we have the ATC update.
Okay, if I could, I first want to introduce you guys David Robinette. David Robinette is now our on-site
Do we
superintendent.
need a microphone for
construction
him?
manager.
Do we need a microphone for you?
I can take the seat, but that's not going to be a lot louder.
We don't know what's going on.
Is it on? Yes. Oh. So, again, I want to introduce David Robinette. He is the most senior on-site superintendent we have at Custodial. He's been with us over 25 years. He actually trained me back when I was in college 20-some years ago when I first worked at Custodial. So he will be your on-site superintendent. He will attend these meetings along with myself. And moving forward, we're in really good hands with this guy here. He's got a lot of experience. As far as the ATC update, you guys know that we had to go in and replace the floor tile because of the defect in material. We had a plan to do that over your all's fall break. We get back over there again, and the tile is, again, the new tile we got in is also not square, to be short. And so therefore, we made a decision with Mr. Saylor. We looked at it and said we can't accept this. So tonight, I think there's going to be some discussions about that as far as a different type of tile, going to a different manufacturer. And the game plan moving forward is to put the tile back in over your all's Thanksgiving break. Okay. With that being said, the work on that project is less the VCT is 99.7% complete. There's a few things here and there, some door issues we got to work through, but for the most part, that job is complete.
Does anybody have any questions?
I just have a comment. Mr. Saylor and Sheila and several different district employees were able to host Representative Andy Barr out to the ATC. We took a tour with him, and he was beyond excited for that. So, and he thought it was just a beautiful facility. So, thank you for that. And Mr. Saylor may want to say more about that, but it was a great day.
Well, and Representative Barr was very instrumental in the receipt of the EDA grant. Of course, our staff here at the office had to do a lot of work with that, and, you know, I've talked about the job that Teresa and Charlotte O'Brien did in order to get those materials together, but it was a team effort. Everybody in the office at some point in time had some hand in the writing of that grant. But I do know that Congressman Barr was very instrumental in his conversations with the EDA, not only in Washington, D.C., but also in the regional office in Atlanta. He called me several times, and I know that he spoke directly to the director there of EDA in Atlanta several times on our behalf. And as you all know, the original grant amount was for $3 million, and after Congressman Barr got involved, we saw that grant amount increase to $4 million. So I'm very appreciative for her help. I know that both of our senators, Senator McConnell and Senator Rand Paul, were also instrumental in letters of support on that grant process. But I know Congressman Barr was sort of like the boots on the ground. He was very much involved, and I appreciate that, and was glad to have him here during that time.
So at this time, I think we have a pay app, number 26, to discuss.
We do have a pay app this time. It's pay app 26. It's for a total amount of $427,038.74. And we're starting to close out some of these contractors. We've only got about three, maybe four contractors that are left for us to close out.
That's correct.
And we had a meeting today, and hopefully we're going to bring a BG4 to you at the December board meeting. Once the tile is closed out there at Thanksgiving, that will give Kenny and them approximately 3 to 4 weeks to get the BG4 ready for our December board meeting, and we can close that thing out and declare that building finished before January 1, and that's the goal. My recommendation is to pay app number 26.
So, do we have a motion to pay app number 26? Have a motion by Sheila Samples. Do I have a second? By Tammy Hardy. I'd like to call for any discussion at this time. I'd like to call for a vote. All in favor? And Brian had to leave the meeting. He sent me a message. So
Okay.
Brian is no longer with us. Rebecca. So motion carries 4-0. Okay. Item 3 on the agenda is to discuss change orders.
Yeah, these change orders are a no-cost change order to the owner. These are back charges amongst the contractors here. So what happened was Bennett's Carpets had put in all the ceiling tile, and then the electrician and mechanical guys went back in and doing their work, damaged some of the tile. So we back charged those two contractors to offset the payment for Bennett's Carpets. So again, it's a no-cost change to the owner.
And it's really just to get the paperwork right,
That's all it is.
so that in the reporting to KDE. So my recommendation is to approve all 3 of these change orders. Again, it's no cost to the board.
Okay. So, do we have a motion to approve the 3 change orders that are listed before you? Tammy Hardy makes a motion and Sheila Samples makes a second. Any discussion? Like to call for a vote at this time. All in favor? Any opposed? It's a 4-0 vote, Ms. Rebecca. Okay. And then we need approval of special inspection invoices.
And if I'm not mistaken, Kenny, these are the final payment for the special inspector in a lot of the work that he did with the ATC. You had a separate contract with the special inspector to complete these work, and these are the final invoices that will, I believe, complete that part of your contract with them. And these have been reviewed by Michael Mays and Ross Tarrant and I think as well as Codell, and they're ready for payment. Again, it's a closeout item, so my recommendation is to pay those invoices.
So I'd like to call for a motion to approve the special inspection invoices that are listed for you there. Do I have a motion? Carrie Smallwood makes a motion. Do I have a second? Tammy Hardy makes a second. Any discussion? Like to call for a vote. All in favor? Any opposed? 4-0. All right, item B on the agenda is Estill County High School Renovation Project, which is phase number 7 for that school. Like to have an update at this time.
Yes, ma'am. So we are progressing on top of the hill, which is the baseball and softball facility. It's going to plan. We do have a supply chain issue like everybody else does. You go to Walmart, you can't find stuff, but we're working through it. If you go up there right now, we are on the softball field. We have built both dugouts, and the press box will probably be done tomorrow, possibly, if not Monday, depending on the route material-wise. But again, if you want to come up on the hill, just come see David, come look at it. You're more than welcome. We are doing a ton of utility work right now: sanitary, storm, water, electric, and that's where the supply chain issues is giving us a snag right now. We're having a hard time. This is not just in Estill County; it's throughout the state and probably the nation. Having a hard time getting the pipe in here for the storm drainage. Now, it will be here sometime next month. It won't affect us on the football field. It'll be starting soon. But right now, it's put us in a pinch on top of the hill because, again, a lot of that work has to happen before concrete, let's say, gets poured. So we're working through those details. As far as the tennis courts, if you've been out there and seen tennis courts, we have paved the tennis courts. They are paved. We're going to straighten up the fence posts, get the fence posts painted, and then we'll be looking in the next few weeks to start putting the resinous material down. So that's going to plan. Like I said, that the tennis courts are in good shape right now. As far as phase 2, which is the football field, it has not started yet because you're still playing football. My understanding is if you win on Friday, then we won't be able to have the football field for demolition until November 1st. But if you lose on Friday, we get it next Monday. So we're prepared to move in next Monday if we win. If you lose, we'll be here next Monday starting demolition on the football field. We understand the importance of that, and there is a ton of work doing the football field. This is not one of those where you just strip the topsoil off and put a turf field back on top of it. We got to put storm drainage in. We're going to dig most of your football field up. Okay, so it's pretty extensive. The sooner we get in there, the better. That work will start happening here, like I said, either next Monday or the following Monday. And we are procuring materials. So again, like I said before, as far as the materials needed for the football field, we should be in pretty good shape based on that. It's just right now, we are in a pinch on the baseball and softball field. So again, I encourage you guys to come up and look at it, get with David. You have to park at the bottom of the hill and walk up because they have so many utilities going in right now. The trenches are everywhere, but it's progressing.
Well, I will say when I was delivering mail out to the high school today, when I drove by the tennis, I was just like, oh, look how beautiful. It's like I can remember when it was first poured and in there, I thought it's going to be wonderful again because it looked really well.
We get the fence post up, the fence around it, the poly resin material on top of it, and that's up. It'll look really nice.
Right.
Well, and it's right in front of the school, so it makes the whole school look beautiful as compared to the way it was.
Right.
Yeah, just pray for good weather here for the next couple of weeks because to get that surface down, we've got to have warm temperatures.
Yes.
And it looks like we may have a little bit of a break here, hopefully, but they'll have to sort of pick and choose because they do have to have sort of decent temperatures in order to put that surface down. But we feel good about that.
So that brings us to pay application number 1.
As you see, pay application number 1 for the high school project. This is your first payment, and this is for $635,015.32. This has been reviewed by not only Ross Torrent but by Codell Construction, and it is my recommendation that we pay app number 1.
So I'd like to call for a motion to pay application number 1 for phase 7 of the high school project. Do I have a motion? Shayla Samples makes a motion. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Tammy Hardy makes a second. Any discussion? All in favor? Motion carries 4-0. Thank you. We're moving right along to change orders. Do you,
Yeah.
Keith, you want to review those?
So 12-1 for CNC Industrial is, if you recall back in the ATC project, we did a lot of site improvements around the middle school area. So when we went to put the concrete flume in on the parent loop, around the parent loop where the middle school is, we ran into a water line that was really shallow, okay? This water line was put in probably by some local utilities some time ago, and they hit rock and they probably just stopped there and put the water line in. Well, in order to be within code, we got to take the rock out and bury the pipe. So that's, in order to put the flume in, the pipe's got to be deeper. So there's a change order for that. That's 12-1. And then 13-1, the Babcon, which is the electrician, is we're taking all the primary lines that were going to be overhead and be a visual issue possibly, and we buried them all within the ground.
that's
Well,
good.
burying it in the ground, it's a lot more expensive. You got to dig, put the pipe in, backfill, and everything else. So that's what 13-1 is. And that's occurring at all the way from where Custodial's construction trailer is right now, all the way up the hill into the back, going down towards the softball field. So all the way up the driveway of the softball and baseball complex.
And guys, both of these are really the water line issue is something we've dealt with forever, because if you recall, or you may not even know this, but our maintenance men have always drained the water lines coming from the softball and baseball field. One of the main reasons for draining those lines was the fact that the line wasn't 6 inches deep. In some places, it's sitting right on top of the ground. So in order to avoid that issue and have problems in the past, it needed to be fixed right. So that's the first change order. And then, of course, the second change order with the overhead is that we had left a section of the overhead in place. And quite honestly, it made no sense for it to be left in place. So at my request, we were able to work with Babcon and Jackson Energy. And honestly, they give us a really good price in order to do that. We did uncover one issue that will have to come back the next time, which is going to be about another $5,000 or $6,000 charge because of the underground being close to the baseball home dugout. So there will be another charge related to this, but it'll be a separate change order. But altogether, I think that change order is about $35,000. CNC Industrial, it was, I believe, somewhere around. It was, I've got it right here, 21,000. Both of them very much needed. So my recommendation, and I do believe that we can approve both of these with one motion, is that we approve both of those change orders, and they'll get the paperwork submitted to KDE.
Okay, so I would like to call for a motion to approve change order A and B, as we discussed and as you have noted on your agenda. Do I have a motion? Ms. Sheila Samples makes a motion. Do I have a second? Carrie Smallwood makes a second. Any discussion? I'd like to call for a vote at this time. All in favor? Any opposed? Motion carries 4-0.
And guys, just remember that a lot of the alternates, you will see several change orders on this project, but it is value-added change orders. The things that you will see coming at you because of, for instance, the parking lot upgrades, the steps that we want to build between the high school parking lot and the area technology center that helps us utilize all the parking at the middle school area. There is the turf pad for the football field. There's also the track surface that's going to be coming at you in change orders. I just want you to be aware you'll be seeing change orders, but if you remember, as we discussed the project and approve it, we knew that those would be coming in time as we started moving forward. So it's all part of finishing the project and using our contingency dollars in order to do that. So I just wanted to again remind you of that, and These guys have promised they'll try to keep things to the minimum in terms of different things that we may see, so.
And all of these documents are public records, so if anybody wants to view them or have questions, Mr. Saylor will be happy to share that information with you.
Matter of fact, they can go to the website. We post every one of them to the website. They can go straight to the board agendas and minutes on our website, and when they go to the board agenda, these attachments are there. We post them for public viewing. There's very few times, unless it's something to deal with personnel or something, there's very few times that we do not post these items.
I just wanted to remind people of that.
Okay.
We're moving right along to item number C. It's the Estill County High School ESSER 3 sanitary line project and improvement.
This is Peter.
Great, yes. Hello, you guys. Appreciate being able to be here again with you all this month. You all might remember that alternate number 1 in the high school Phase 7 project was the repair of a sanitary line. It was not taken by the board at the time, so that it could be repackaged as an ESSER 3 project. And that is what we've done. I brought the drawings here for you. It's a 10-page spec, about 275 pages worth of specifications that the design team has pulled together and is ready to present to you guys for approval tonight. I do think that KDE is still working through the BG1 approval process, but I expect that to be fairly quick and clean, and we'll get it uploaded to them as soon as we can. There is a bit of coordination work that has to happen with the high school Phase 7 project with this particular project, and we'd like to have a contractor ready to roll by January to kind of get started on this work, if at all possible.
Rebecca, can you go to the drawing that shows, if you can flip the pages, I think.
I didn't send any, but I have them here.
Okay, I thought we had the page that showed where this sewer line was at. I'm sorry, it's
No,
not.
I didn't have it to send. I just sent a placeholder, but I did
Okay,
tell you
that's
to bring
fine.
it here tonight. I'll be happy to open it up and show you.
If you all do want to see them, just so you'll know, this is the sewer line that it runs in front of the high school gymnasium. It starts right around the cafeteria doors, and it runs the length in front of the gymnasium under the sidewalk. And know that it's probably a good 15 feet deep in there. It's pretty deep. And was, quite honestly, it should have been replaced during the last phase of construction, but it was pulled out of construction. It's an old clay line that needs to be replaced. And it's in two parts. It goes down to a manhole that's right in the parking lot by the greenhouse. And then once you get to the greenhouse, that part of that work is all part of the Phase 7 project.
Correct.
And then when you get down to about the caboose on the football field, this line continues down the side of the football field, and we'll be probably about 50, 75 feet back from that caboose, and from there, all the way down the side of the football field to where it makes its connection down at the end of the field. Down there is about as far as you can go. That's also part of this project. So from the cafeteria to the greenhouse parking lot, and then from the caboose to the main sewer line is what this entails.
Correct.
Okay.
And it was a perfect use of ESSER funds because, as you know, the delay in the project caused the cost to go up because of the pandemic. But since this is water quality, it is very much in line with the use of your ESSER funds.
Correct.
And the hope is just want to make any questions?
No, we were just talking about the location.
Okay, just wanted to make, and then from there, so the hope is, we've made the correction that KDE suggested on the BG1. We look for them to sign off here in the next few days. We'll get it bid.
Yep.
And
We're hoping to go out to bid sometime, early November, early to mid-November, and take bids in early December, so that they can have their contract approved and ready to hop in on the project in January.
The work probably from the caboose to the main line probably can be done at any time. The work right in front of the high school will be done when school goes out in May. So my recommendation is go ahead and approve the construction set, and let's move forward.
Okay, so we need approval of construction documents, and those documents are available for you to review as discussed with Peter and Mr. Saylor. So I'd like to call for a motion. Do we have a motion?
I'll make a motion.
Tammy Hardy makes a motion. Do we have a second? Sheila Samples makes a second. Any discussion? I'd like to call for a vote at this time. All in favor? Any opposed? Motion carries, Rebecca, 4-0.
And Peter, if you could send that construction set electronically
Absolutely.
as a PDF, and Rebecca will just replace it in this placeholder here, and that way it'll be available for public viewing.
Yes.
We'll send it in the morning.
Thank you, sir.
Okay, we're moving along to item D on our agenda, which is our air quality upgrades, which is part of Esther 2 funding.
Right, so these two projects, we had one that was a larger project at West Urban Intermediate that has wrapped up. I'm expecting to bring closeout documents to you all here for that project in November. I want CMTA to make sure that we take a more substantial look at warranties and other items on that project before we close it out, but we should be ready to roll in November. And then tonight, I'm here with the BG4 and closeout documents for the district-wide ESSER 2 projects, which included implementing some bipolar ionization units in the high school, middle school, Estill Springs, and West Urban. And that work has been completed and everything is installed. And speaking with Dan Higgins, we have all of the documentation that we need from Premier Mechanical to be able to sign off on that project. I'll be happy to answer any questions that you guys have about either one of those.
Anybody have any questions or any discussion? Do you want to do those as separate motions, Mr. Saylor, or would you?
I think you've got to do the pay app and the BG4 with separate motions. I was trying to get this, I'm struggling here with trying to, here it is. I will get this up where I can, this pay app is in the amount of, I'm trying to get it to.
$117,669.
Yes. So that is the pay app, and of course, this was ESSER 2. Remember, you approved these back in the spring. This work's been completed for a while. Peter and CMTA was just trying to pull together all of the warranty information, making sure that all that's there. Work is complete. With the BG4, Angie will be able to go in and close this out. We'll bring you a BG5 on several of these probably here in the next few months, but this will be completely paid out, and it's done. The work is done. Everything's certified. So
Yeah, I'm glad to get some of these BG5s to close out these projects because we have so many things going on. I'm glad to close out some of these things.
yeah, we're
So at this time, based on Mr. Saylor's recommendation, I'd like to call for approval of pay application number 1 and I'd like to ask for a motion. Do we have that at this time? Sheila Samples makes a motion. Do we have a second?
Also,
Carrie Smallwood makes a second. Any discussion? I'd like to call for a vote by saying aye. All in favor? Any opposed? Motion carries 4-0. So now we can go ahead. We just discussed the approval of the BG4. And I'd like to call for a vote, call for a motion to vote on that. Do we have a motion? Sheila Samples makes a motion. Do we have a second? Tammy Hardy makes a second. Any discussion? I'd like to call for a vote to approve this. Any opposed? Motion carries 4-0. Rebecca?
and you'll see West Irvin next month. I believe the work is completed there.
It is.
And we're very slowly knocking item after item off of our district facility plan, and this was one of them as well. So that's good news for the district.
Okay. Moving along to item E on our agenda, which is the Estill Springs Renovation and Addition Project.
So last month when I was here, you guys asked me to bring a VG1 for this project to you. And so that's what I've done. We in discussions with Mr. Saylor, we decided to sort of break off the demolition of Old Irvin High into its own VG1. So you're going to see a VG1 for just that work. And then you're also going to see a VG1 for the balance of the work that we talked about and went through when I was here last month. I want to be completely upfront with you. I know that we reviewed some vehicular traffic patterns behind Estill Springs that everybody kind of liked, that new where we had a drive entering onto 89, a new drive, into, where the old drive used to be. And I do think that it's probably fairly important for that particular project that we take a suggestion by Mr. Saylor to get together with the transportation cabinet on 89 and take a look at that and make sure that's going to be a feasible part of doing that. But it is something we can work through during design. There's no reason to hold up, initiating a VG1. But I did want to make sure that you all knew that we have not had that discussion with them yet. And we are very hopeful, since there was an exit there for so long, that it won't be an issue. But I'll keep you all informed once we find anything out from them about that issue.
I have asked for a meeting sometime within the next couple weeks so that we can get that to rest, because it will make a difference in how we look at the traffic pattern for our parents at that facility. So guys, as Peter said, this project is being paid for with ESSER funds. It's also being paid for with capital outlay money that the district has accumulated over the last few years. But the demolition of Old Irvin is something that I'm not saying they wouldn't approve it, but they're not going to object to it if we're using general fund dollars. I mean, sometimes when you're dealing with restricted money like capital outlay, there's some hoops that you've got to jump. And of course, the ESSER funds are very specific in terms of what you can spend those funds on. And Old Irvin just really did not fit. I have talked to members of the Irvin High Alumni Association. They do know that this is happening. I did not want them to hear about it first in a board meeting. Of course, we've held several conversations, and it's really, even all of you all that have lived here all this time, and that building has been a part of this community and a big part of so many lives. I know it's been an important building, but guys, it's in terrible shape. There's no saving it. The roof, we have stopped allowing anybody to go into the upstairs portion of the building because the roof is in that bad a shape. When it rains now, it's being compared to the scene in the Titanic, that the water just pours down the steps coming into the gym because the roof is in such bad shape. The building's got to go or somebody's going to get hurt, regardless of what happens with the entrance, exit, and all that. But we have plans for a memorial park, something that our Irvin High, I think, Alumni Association can be proud of. And it's sort of with a heavy heart, because there's been a lot of legwork done to try to save this building over the last 5 years. I've had a lot of meetings, went to a lot of different places, pursued a lot of different funding sources. And quite honestly, it's just not there. We've made every effort. So it's my recommendation that we go ahead with the demo. Yes, Chief.
Could we invite the Alumni Association to be in on the development of the Memorial Park?
We can. We'll present what we've got to them. We've went above and beyond what they actually asked for so far in the preliminary plans. And Peter, we talked about it the other day, but we have not only the memorial that's going to be used a marble that's part of the door entrance, that's got the Urban High and the date that it was erected. We've got a memorial wall and seating area, along with an event space that they can use as an outdoor event space for their meetings and hopefully Alumni Association meetings. We hope to be able to put picnic tables and benches and those areas there that will be a place that they can use. And then, of course, our students at Estill Springs can use that as well as outdoor classroom spaces. There'll be play areas. Exactly what you all asked for last time in those drawings is what right now we're moving forward with. And we have been able to meet our budget and get all those things within the budget to make it work. And all those are ESSER approvable because of outdoor space and air quality that can work. So this is really two parts tonight. The first BG1 that I ask you to approve is for the demolition of Old Urban High.
And just so you know, just to be clear on the document that was sent, it's listed as a district central storage building, and that's just a KDE designation. That's what it's been for a few years now, but that is what we're talking about.
Well, everyone, it is with very heartfelt that I ask for approval to for the demolition of BG1 for the demolition of Old Urban High School. Do we have a motion for that?
I'll make the motion.
Carrie Smallwood makes a motion. Do we have a second? Tammy Hardy makes a second. Do we have any discussion? I'd like to call for a vote at this time. All in favor? Any opposed? Motion carries 4-0.
And I thank you all because I know that's a very hard vote for this board. That's probably one of the top 5 hardest votes that the board's had to take in this school district in the last 6 years, just due to that building. And I appreciate everybody, and I hope that everybody understands that there comes a time that you just got to move forward. So I appreciate you all for that tough vote. It was a tough vote for you all.
I have a little lump in my throat and a little quiver in my voice because it's very heartfelt.
Well, my office was located there for several years.
Yeah.
And we are going to try to save that tree.
Thank you.
Oh, absolutely.
So that's in
Yeah.
That tree plans on being a very integral part
Yes.
of the park.
That's was
Next.
playing in honor of a student we lost.
Yeah. Next on our agenda, we have to consider approval of a BG1 for the renovation and site improvements that we discussed. And those documents are also listed for you. Do we have a motion?
Make the motion.
Sheila Samples makes a motion. Do we have a second? Carrie Smallwood makes a second. Any discussion? Like to call for a vote at this time. All in favor? Any opposed? It's a 4-0 vote.
And this is based on the drawing that you all approved last time, as is. Now, like I said, if the KYCT or KYTC does not approve that exit, then we'll have to go back to the drawing board to see exactly how we make that work.
Exactly.
But we will start moving forward. Got a lot of time, but our thought process would be is if site work could be done during the summer, start in the spring and into the summer, then the classroom building can come along at any time because it will not be something that will cause us not to have school.
An early site package would be very beneficial to the vehicular traffic pattern of the school during the school year.
So you'll see 2 different sets of drawings here, one for early site, which includes the Memorial Park and the driveway, some of the Memorial Park, and then the rest of it will come with the other.
Peter, you know what your command is. Ahead of time and under budget. All right, so we're moving on to item F, which is consideration of possible approval of any future projects to include the ACH field house, restroom renovation, and part of Esther 3 project.
This is the last one of those future projects that we talked about, and it's one that, as we were planning the high school project, we did not plan on, there is going to be some work to the Richardson Athletic Complex, that our football team currently uses. So we want to make sure that as we bring that stadium up to the 22nd century, that we have adequate restroom facilities. And as you know, the new baseball, softball restrooms and stuff, they each one have 3 fixtures. The bathrooms within that current facility only has 2 fixtures for the public. It's too small. We do have the ability to expand both of those bathrooms based on the current layout of that building, which is not going to take a significant amount of money to do that. But of course, the plumbing, when you start dealing with the plumbing and all that, and the addition of fixtures, there will be some cost added. But this is, again, a perfect Esther project because it's dealing with water quality. You're also talking about the ability to, believe it or not, social distance within that bathroom and creating more space. So we felt like that it meets the guidelines of ESSER 3. So I would like tonight to get your all's approval for Peter and his team to go ahead and begin the design of that project and get that one moving and bring you back a BG1 at the November meeting. And then, of course, that would just go along with the work on the stadium and would be complete in time for the stadium when it's ready. And we had a construction meeting today and very animate. I think I pretty much stated the case that Powell County arrives at that stadium on August the 19th, I believe it is, this fall. And that stadium has to be ready for play. No ifs, ands, buts. It's got to be ready for play, and they have promised to deliver that. And so this would be, this is the last piece of the puzzle, I believe, for this complete stadium renovation. So my recommendation is for you to approve this as an ESSER project, and we'll have a BG1 for you.
Okay, I'd like to ask for a motion for approval of the ECH Fieldhouse restroom renovation as part of an ESSER 3 project. Do I have a motion?
I'll make a motion.
Tammy Hardy makes a motion and Sheila Samples makes a second. Do we have any discussion? The only thing that I would like to say about that is I would just like to make sure as we move forth with that renovation that in some form or fashion, that field house was actually built with money that was donated from a former student, Kevin Richardson, from the Backstreet Boys. So I would like to see that there's some kind of a plaque or something to honor him for that. And I just would like to throw that out there before we vote for
Even if we do a
this.
dedication, invite him on.
But
I'm not for sure what the plaque is. There is a plaque on the front of that building, but I don't know exactly what it says. But we want to make sure as we rededicate that facility that we make sure that that is very prominent.
Okay.
in his honor, I would like to just say that.
Exactly, yeah.
So I'd like to call for a vote. At this time, all in favor? Any opposed? So motion carries 4-0. Peter, does that wrap it up for you?
That wraps it up for me. You all are also always so patient. Thank you so much.
Thank you all for
Appreciate your
staying
time.
late.
Thank you, guys,
appreciate
and we'll I'll let them look at these tile samples, and I know that we're waiting on some pricing, but we'll get something picked out here pretty quick.
That's
Mr.
fantastic.
Robinette, I know this is your first meeting. We appreciate you very much. Thank you for being here.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Thank
We
you.
appreciate you.
Yes.
Thank you.
All right, be safe.
Bye.
You too.
Thank you. Y'all be safe. Bye-bye.
Peter, maybe if you can even drop by and just get a picture of that are you going out that way or are you going back Richmond?
I can run by. I go out through Clay City.
Okay. Well, if you're going out through Clay City, just drop by and get a picture of that.
I'll do it.
plaque.
Peter,
Let's see
are you
what it's
sure
here.
we've given you enough work to do?
Yes.
You,
I'm very appreciative. I hope that breathes sometimes, but thank you very much.
Has Randy hired you any help? That's,
We'll see.
maybe we need to vote on you a raise.
Good night.
thank you.
All right, so Mr. Saylor, we're down to action items. Do you want to discuss those?
Yeah, we'll take each one of those because that's why in order for there to be transparency, we wanted to start making sure that everybody knew what we were voting on. The first one is a school bus purchase. And if you look at your school bus purchase there, we're purchasing 4 school buses and also 1 handicap bus. These buses, because they are an allowable purchase under Esther, 75% of it, the cost is being paid for through ESSER funds. It's almost $500,000 for those buses. But it is budgeted, the money is in the budget, and we're ready to move forward. So I'd ask for you to give the blessing on the purchase of these buses.
Okay, so we're going to vote on each one of these items individually. So we'll start with the school bus purchase authorization. Ms. Sheila Samples makes a motion. Do we have a second? Tammy Hardy makes a second. All in favor of purchasing? Aye. Motion carries 4-0. Mr. Sutter, I just have one comment about that. Is there any way when we purchase new buses, or as we renew our fleet, is there any way that we could purchase a couple that have air conditioning for these long trips that the kids take?
There are some school districts that do purchase air conditioning on buses. What you get into is that it's a long process. There's always a fight on who gets that bus because you can't just use them for trips. You have to use them on a regular bus route. So then where do you put them? Who exactly gets those buses? And then generally what happens is that once something goes wrong with the air conditioning on those buses, it's too expensive to replace them. So it's as good as long as it lasts, but once it goes, it goes. So there are not a lot of districts that do that. At one point in time, we had talked about buying a couple of the rear engine buses that of course are the flat front buses and putting air conditioning on those buses, but the cost for those buses are so high. You're looking at an air conditioned bus, one of those buses would be probably $50,000. So to buy 2 buses, you can buy 3 of the conventional buses for the price of 2. If it's something the board wants to look at into the future, what I would suggest is let us go ahead and look at moving forward with this purchase. We need to get it approved and get them in so that we'll get them on time. But I will have Laura start doing some research, and if we think it's feasible, we'll try to buy a couple of buses. The big deal is, again, is that based on what bus route that bus is on, whether it can get back to the high school for a trip. During the day, something like that, it's not an issue. It's just,
And you can't use those as replacement buses, like if one bus goes down, you would use it. It has to be something that's on a daily route.
new buses need to go on daily routes. They frown
I
on the
didn't know,
fact.
I'm just
Well,
asking.
that's been discussed before too. You know, somebody says, well, why don't you just buy 2 buses and have them for trips? Keep them at the garage, have them for trips. And what happens is that that's a big red flag to KDE and the transportation cabinet because they're looking for those buses. Buses are for the purpose of transporting kids and not for the purpose of taking trips, so they.
Well, and I wasn't saying.
No, I know, but
trips,
that, I
though.
know exactly, and I'm not suggesting that you're thinking that at all. It's just the fact if you keep them that right there around the garage, I mean, it's possible we could put both of them on the Broadway routes. You know, there's 2 routes right here in town, and they're through by 4 o'clock. You know, that's a possibility, but there's also a possibility in the future, one of those routes being eliminated because of buses that's coming off of the mountain can pick up in town also. So it's just a matter, it's a scheduling thing to be able to use those. But we'll look into it, but
I was just thinking, like, a lot of kids, I mean, I know they travel to state and different things like that for softball and soccer and things like that. And I just thought that that might be a nice option for them, but.
it would be for those travel trips. The thing that you get into, though, is when you're using them on routes and somebody says, well, why does that kid get an air-conditioned bus? My kid doesn't have one. And so you're talking about a 10-year period to get air conditioning in all your buses, to replace all your buses if you're on a replacement plan. But the issue also is the air conditioning goes down on one, you can't afford to replace it. So it's, I'll do some checking. It could be that it's part of your warranty, and it could be warranty work, but I just know there are some districts that once they're gone, they're gone. So we can check into it, but let's go ahead and
Thank
approve these.
We already voted.
Good deal.
We already voted.
Good deal.
It's a
Okay.
4-0. Item B on our action item list is food service adult meal pricing increase.
Yeah, and this is one that Miss Belinda really hated to bring to me, guys, but the bottom line is that we have no choice. This is a KDE mandate. It comes from the federal food lunch program. It's really not a KDE mandate. It's really a federal lunchroom mandate. And so basically, they're telling us that we have to raise the price of the adult breakfast and lunch. We're not charging enough for those meals. So in doing so, it appears that in order to just make it round money as you can, we would need to increase breakfast to $2.75, and we would need to increase lunch to $4.60.
What are the current, what's the current charge?
The current charge, I think, for like lunch is like $3 something. It's over $1 increase. $3.50, maybe something in there, I believe, is what it was. And then the breakfast was under $2, if I'm not mistaken. So it's a pretty substantial increase, but again, we really have no way around that because we're dealing with adult lunches and breakfast. So I hate to ask you for a motion on that, but just based on guidelines, we need to do it.
Okay. Do we have a motion to increase the food service adult meal pricing? We have a motion. So, do you all want to make a motion, or do you need to think about this and table this item? How would you all like to move forward with this?
Let's table it.
Yeah, table it, see what, check around here, around,
Surrounding counties.
yeah, surrounding counties.
Well, your only option is for the board to pick up the difference moving forward. And I don't think the board can spend money paying for adult meals. I mean, I can have Belinda bring it back. I don't know how tight of a time frame this is on, but
I've always thought the Kentucky Department of Education should allot money, because personally, I think we should feed our employees for free, which I know we
That's my
can't, which I know we
opinion,
can't. I know that's
I know
not,
we can't
you know,
now, too, but that's
feasible in
me.
this world, but I've always just thought, but I understand everything's going up. I understand why they're wanting it to go up, but like you say, if we can check surrounding counties.
So you all want to pull that out and table it for
Yes.
now and put that on our November board agenda?
Yes, please.
we can bring that one back, Rebecca, and we need to get Belinda to just give us some more information, but I'm pretty sure that that is a federal guideline that we'll not be able to get around.
Okay, so we'll pull that out for now and consider that in November. Item C is approval of an out-of-state band trip. The band wants to go to Bands of America in Indiana.
You've seen the letter. We gave tentative approval to this trip back in the spring in order for them to do their fundraising. And as of 4 weeks ago, I wouldn't gave this trip a 5% chance of being able to take place. But as we've seen in the last 2 or 3 weeks, we've seen COVID numbers start to come down. And we feel like that we're at the point that there is a possibility that this trip could occur. We have held discussions about how you would take a out-of-state field trip, an overnight field trip, and how that field trip would have to be supervised. And in terms of the mitigation strategies for COVID-19 that would have to be used. And that document is included. This is a pullout from a revision to our COVID-19 safe return to in-person instruction document that we're required to have posted with KDE. And we've worked on this after conversations with the band and discussions on how we can mitigate or try to at least reduce the impact that COVID-19 could have in a situation like this. We feel like that we have a pretty decent plan. As numbers are going down, we will be starting to look at student field trips, how they can be conducted, whether they're during the day, overnight. This does create the ability that if things continue to improve and the conditions warrant that when we get to the spring, this would also allow the senior trip to Washington, D.C., and also allow the 8th grade trip to Chicago. So it's not something that is just exclusive for the band. But if we go with this process, we're basically approving that we have a plan on how to conduct these trips, how they will be conducted, and how we will try to ensure the safety of the students that are participating. Now, I have made it very clear, regardless of your all's approval tonight, if something happens that numbers start to go in the other direction, and we go back into the high red numbers and our incident rates are over 100, the trip is off. If you all will give me that ability. I've told them very simply, we're not going to do that. But at the current rate, I believe it is possible for them to go. Can I ensure everybody? No, I can't ensure everybody, but I think we can put enough guidelines and procedures in place that we can do it as safely as we can. And in talking to other superintendents in other school districts, they are allowing these trips. And they're doing the same things that we're doing.
Have we talked to our district lawyer?
Excuse me?
Have we talked to our district lawyer about?
Yes, I've spoke to Jonathan before concerning this and how we would go about conducting these trips. As long as we're following the guidelines as they're presented, and of course, remember that Senate Bill 1 removed a lot of guidelines being dictated to us, but us setting common sense guidelines that we can live with as a school district. So it is my recommendation that as of right now, if this was happening tomorrow, this field trip would be approved. The only caveat to this motion is that if we see numbers start to go in the other direction and we get to the point that we're at a point that we're back where we was at 4 weeks ago, I will personally tell them that they will not be going.
Have they checked to see if they can get their money back if something
They
happens?
can get their money back within, I believe it's 24 hours of
Okay.
checking.
Okay, that's good, because we had that discussion too last time.
Most of these companies are working with them, and I've told them that they're responsible for working out all those contracts and everything else, because they cannot come back to the board and say, well, we lost $28,000 for motel rooms. You know, that's on you. If you don't make some type of there's enough people out there with enough trips, and the hospitality industry has lost so much money, they're going to allow you to have some pretty lenient cancellation policies. And I've seen the actual conversations with the motel concerning the motel rooms. The Bands for America people have guaranteed them refunds if they cannot travel due to COVID, or if there's a COVID outbreak with our band. Listen, you're one student away from a positive test that could result in all your non-vaccinated students being in quarantine. It's just the way it is. I mean, the only students that's guaranteed that can go on this trip are the ones that's really vaccinated, to be honest. Whether you think that's fair or you don't think that's fair, doesn't really matter what you think. It's just a reality of the situation. So they understand all this. We've met with them. Erica and I've met with them, and they understand the guidelines as I've spoke to Mr. Bowles. So my recommendation is to approve it as long as conditions warrant. And of course, I would consult with the chair and the vice chair before I would make a final decision. I will not make a unilateral decision. If we have to have a special called board meeting to do something about it, we will, but I won't make a unilateral decision on this, okay?
So I'd like to call for a motion to approve an out-of-state band trip to Bands of America in Indiana. So Tammy Hardy makes a motion, Sheila Samples makes a second. All in favor? Any opposed? I just have one comment about that. I'm very, very proud of our band, and they performed at our last home football game, and it was spectacular. The only thing that I would like to say is that I've heard a lot of people that have been very disappointed that they haven't been at all the home football games. And I would like to see them be at those games.
The reason they have it though is because all of them get quarantined and they have to go practice Friday night to get ready for Saturday. So,
But everyone really, really misses our band, and we're proud of them, and we want to see them, and we want them to be there as much as possible. And I understand that there are extenuating circumstances sometimes, but I'm just saying that I'm proud of them, and we like to see them, and we wish they could be there more. And I'm very supportive of the band.
Well, I think that applies to a lot of the groups that, and when you get to talking about band and cheer, probably some of their the main reasons for cheerleading teams and band, and it's to promote school spirit, especially at school activities. And yes, of course, we want our cheerleaders to participate in state competition, but we also need for them to be at games, and it's an important part of the atmosphere of those games. And coming from a school district that did not have a band, that band can be a huge advantage during a Friday night football game or a basketball game in terms of how they help promote the atmosphere and school spirit at those events. And to me personally, those take sometimes first priority. I understand that there'll be a night that they can't be there, and I know there's been a lot of extenuating circumstances, and COVID's been hard on everybody. But I do agree, our people love to see the band there. They love to see cheerleaders there, participating, being part of that. And I'm just going to tell you, Friday night's not Friday night without them.
That's right.
Not in Estill County.
That's
There's a
right.
lot of county school districts that don't, or a lot of school districts that don't have that. And that's sometimes a hard pill to swallow. So I do know that without them, it's not as good a Friday
My
night.
comments are not meant to be negative. My
No.
comments are meant to be supportive and just saying how proud we are of them and how we want them to be there.
You basically have said, we miss you being there.
We miss you being there.
And
And
that's
it
that's
doesn't go unnoticed that you're not there.
Yeah.
All right, so we are down to item D, which is approval of the FY22 revised working budget.
Yes, and I
which we have in
gave,
front of
I
us.
gave everybody that budget. You approved this budget, and if you remember, I told you the budget you approved last month was almost the exact same budget that you had in May, but of course, that's about the same time that we got our ESSER 3 money, and ESSER 3 had a big impact on this budget as we move forward. So I wanted to make sure, and I told you I'd bring it back to you, and one of the things that's happened since then, the very first line up there, beginning balance, on the front page, has been increased over $200,000, and that's because we have now moved almost to the point we know what our rollover is. And this is still on the low side, but we were able to increase the amount of money in the budget because of the amount of money that we rolled over this past year. And you can see that's a little bit higher than it was last year, not as high as it was 2 years ago, but we expect that number to go over 1.9 million, so it's still conservative. The other thing, if you would, if you will turn over to page 3, if you'll just flip that page over and go to the very next page, you'll see the number down at the bottom that says indirect cost transfer, and you'll see that that number is $389,000. Does everybody see the number I'm talking about? It's the third page. The last number down there on the very right is $389,000. Last year it was $82,000. The reason why it's $389,000 is that with ESSER 3 funds, there is an indirect cost that the board can charge for the implementation of that grant. So that is money that will be used within the budget to help pay for buses, to help pay for insurance, to help pay for those other items that need to be paid for that may go above and beyond the items that we have budgeted within our ESSER funds. So that was $307,000 additional dollars coming into this budget. So what has changed in the expenditures then is, if you go down through there, is that we really felt like if you go to page 6, and if you go to page 6, right at the bottom of that is budget code 2600, plant operations and maintenance. And what we did is we increased the amount of money that was originally budgeted within that category in item 2600 because of the purchase of equipment, some of the other things that we're doing to upgrade some of our custodial equipment in our buildings. We are also looking at a new storage facility up at the bus garage. We're looking at the purchase of a new tractor and a new maintenance vehicle to replace a maintenance vehicle that's now over 15 years old. So we have allotted more money within that particular budget, and the rest of them have not changed all that much from what you approved the other night. And then if I would highlight on the very last page of what you have there, which is page number 8. And that's item 5300 at the bottom of the page is contingency. The budget you approved the other night had a $1.2 million contingency. So you can see the bulk of that money has been put back into contingency, which last year you had a $1.5 million contingency, and we expressed the desire to try to keep that $1.5 million contingency, and as you can see, that is there. This has the raise in it that was approved. This has all your buses, all your positions, everything's in this budget, and it's honestly, as you can see, we're spending more money, but of course, there's a lot more money within this budget. Okay? So I'm just bringing this to you as a revision. I do think it's appropriate now that that money's in there and we know what it is. This is our final working budget and the one we'll work from. That doesn't mean there won't be some adjustments throughout, but the major adjustments have been made. And what I've asked Angie to do at the next meeting is to bring back all your Fund 2 budget items, which is all your state grants. And to make sure that you all have a good understanding of where that money is being spent at as well. By the time you take somewhere in the neighborhood of $1.2 or $3 million in title funds, another $700,000 in special education, all your other state-funded programs and all those items, I mean, you can start getting up to somewhere around $4 or $5 million and other funds, and we want to make sure you know where those at. You don't have a statute, you don't have to have an approval for those for state purposes, but you do need to be made aware of where that's at. So my motion, or my recommended motion for you all, is to approve the working budget.
Do we have a motion to approve the FY22 revised working budget at this time? Sheila Samples makes a motion. Do we have a second? Tammy Hardy makes a second. Do we have any discussion? I'd like to call for a vote at this time. All in favor? Any opposed? It's a 4-0 vote. Okay, we have on item E, approval of the FY22 revised ESSER 3 budget.
And as you just approved that, I might should have put those, I possibly could have put those as backwards. I mean, in terms of the, might should have done the ESSER one first, but I just wanted to show you the changes in this. And I'm sorry, I will get to where I need to be. There it is. I just wanted to point out where the changes were in this. And the biggest change was in your projects that you just approved in terms of your future projects, and those are listed down here in the maintenance, custodial, supplies, and equipment purchases. You'll now see in this current year budget, you'll see the $200,000 for the Fieldhouse restroom renovation that's there. And for $200,000, you'll see the middle school restroom upgrades for its $625,000, the high school water quality, the high school HVAC. There's your Estill Springs addition for 2.7, and the South Irvin window replacement. All those are now budgeted based on your BG1s that you've approved. And then the additional money was placed into this next one there. We wanted to make sure that all these additional custodian help is listed there as well. Now, the biggest issue with that is hiring people right now. We're still struggling to hire custodial help. But that's the biggest change on this budget, is within that category. And then go on down to the bottom of that one, Rebecca. And originally, you can see there that under indirect costs, you see $307,000 across through there for those 3 years. We had originally placed that at $1 million, but the indirect cost wasn't quite $1 million. It was only like $920, well, it's going to be about $921,000. That was the max amount. So that additional funding was taken back up. So as you can see there, you've got basically a grand total of $1.5 million being spent this year. Or is that 1.6? I'm sorry. 4.5 being spent next year. And then, of course, the following year, that final year in FY 23-24 is $1.9 million. And the total budget there for this is a little over $8 million. I did throw this in here. We did get an additional sum of money for ARP IDEA, which is special ed funding under the federal relief funding. And we have used that money to hire an additional teacher. And we've hired some interventionists to work with students that are behind based on being out of school last year. So you can sort of see where that money has been spent. And Our special needs teachers also needed upgrades on all of their computers. As you know, all of their paperwork is now electronic. They've not had new computers, so we were able to use the money for that. That was an additional $128,000 that's part of that.
Are you able to check about the refrigerator?
Yeah, Amanda has been checking on that, yes.
Sorry, I didn't mean to bring that
No,
up.
no problem. But it's something that's been taken care of.
Okay.
So, if it's okay with you, I would ask that you approve that revised budget, and that's how we've got it in.
Okay. So item E is approval of FY22 revised Esther 3 budget. Do we have a motion for that? Shayla Samples makes a motion. Do we have a second? Carrie Smallwood makes a second. Any discussion? Like to call for a vote at this time. All in favor? Any opposed? 4-0 vote. Okay, Mr. Saylor, we're down to the KDE incentive program for vaccinated school employees with a possible district match.
KDE announced a month ago that through the use of state ESSER funds, that they would be giving school districts $100 for a payment to be made to any employee, full-time, I believe it's part-time, it's pretty much any employee that has been vaccinated can receive a $100 match. And they have asked us with our ESSER funding to match that amount. We have discussed this quite extensively. If you've paid any attention to any of the news reports and stuff, and I'm not sure you all get the KEDC news reel every day, but I do. What I'm starting to see is most school districts are matching that $100 with an additional $100 being paid out of ESSER funding. And regardless of where you stand on vaccinations, I believe that vaccinations is how we're going to get out of this mess at some point in time. And we can agree to disagree if you don't agree with me. But the sad part is that, and just so you all know, as of right now, if the president's order goes through in terms of vaccine mandates, school districts in the state of Kentucky will be under that vaccine mandate. So employees will have to be vaccinated, or I do believe that there is a clause that means that they have to be tested weekly. And that is not at the district's expense, that's at the employee's expense. I think the other thing you're going to see happening, and it's starting to happen quite a bit, and it's not going to this fall because right now we're in open enrollment for insurance. But I do expect to see that next school year, there's a possibility you're going to see, just like right now in the state of Kentucky, if you're a smoker, you have to pay more for your insurance. I believe you will see in state insurance that if you do not get vaccinated, your health insurance is going to cost you more with a stipend.
I think they're doing that in Louisiana. I think it's Louisiana, one of the states down south.
Yeah, there's states doing it right now. There's several companies that are doing it. The funny thing is, if you mandate the vaccine and you got a lot of people fighting it, well, I'm not going to take it. But then all of a sudden, these companies that are saying, okay, you don't have to get the vaccination, but your health insurance is going to cost you $200 more per month, they're flocking to get the vaccination. So when it hits their pocketbook, they start getting the vaccination.
It's not just for schools and it's not just for private insurance. I've been to the National Rural Health Convention in Ohio this week, and we found out that if you receive payments from Medicare or Medicaid, if your staff has not been vaccinated, you will have an interruption in those services. So they will not reimburse you, Medicare and Medicaid, which is huge.
Especially in eastern Kentucky.
That's correct.
In this whole state, it's huge.
And if that passes, what President Biden has, that will go into effect.
And again, it's one of those things that you can sit and argue about it all day long, but the policymakers and those in decision-making authority, if those decisions are made, those are not things that, as school boards and school districts and health clinics and hospitals, it's not things they can fight. Because if you're not taking Medicaid and Medicare, you're going broke. You're out of
You're
business.
in the soup line,
You're out of business.
in the soup line.
And I know that I'm not telling people what they have to do.
Neither am I.
But I am going to say this. I do believe that it's appropriate that if the state is going to have a $100 vaccination bonus for vaccinated employees, I believe as a board, we use the federal ESSER dollars, that it is something that you can use as bonus incentives for vaccination status. I'm going to ask you all to approve that we match it. And that our employees on December the 18th will get a $200 check. Every employee that's vaccinated, I will make sure that tomorrow there'll be an email goes out. Everybody that's not vaccinated, they have until December 1st to be fully vaccinated. They've got 5 weeks from tomorrow to be fully vaccinated to qualify for the $200 bonus.
What
Yes, ma'am.
percentage of our staff is vaccinated at this point?
Oh, listen, we're probably nearing 80%. It's been pretty good. I mean, we're somewhere in the 70s going to 80%.
Are we going to have an event for the booster shots?
We will be scheduling booster shots for our employees that have received the vaccination as well. So whenever we have those clinics, it might run too late, but we'll see when we can get them set up. But it's possible that our unvaccinated employees can jump in then and get their second shot
There's
before.
a waiting period for the boosters.
Yeah, what is it, 2 weeks for, or 3 weeks for Moderna, 2 weeks for Pfizer, something like that? One of them's 2 weeks, one of them's 3 weeks. So I'm not quite for sure which one, but we'll work with the health department on all that. Right now, shots are readily available. You can go to Walgreens and get yours tomorrow if you want to get one.
Then you can go to the health department and get it too.
Health department, I think you can set up appointments.
They have them
We'll
at
make
all
it.
the pharmacies here in town, the clinics have them, there's an abundance of.
There's an abundance of
Of
shots
vaccine.
if you want to get them. And
Okay, guys, so I'd like to call for a motion to approve the KDE incentive program for vaccinated school employees with a district match. Do we have a motion for that?
I'll make a motion.
Carrie Smallwood makes a motion, Sheila Samples makes a second. I'd like to call for a vote at this time. All in favor? Any opposed? So it's a 3-1 vote.
thank you, guys.
Okay, we're down to consent items. We have approval of the minutes of the September 23rd, 2021 and September 27th, 2021 minutes.
Treasurer's report as well, and the payment of bills. You have a MOA with Bluegrass Community Technical Colleges for dual credit classes. And we have revised the district travel voucher to match current KDE guidelines for reimbursement for mileage and meals. And the biggest change is just we were very outdated on what the payment was for meals on overnight trips. Of course, there is no payment for any meals or reimbursements if you're not staying, unless you're staying overnight. But that has changed from like I think it's like $28, I think up to $36, I believe is right. If 18, 28, yes, 36. It went from 28 to 36. Current mileage rate's 44 cents a mile. And this form is a perfectly fillable form that our employees, they can click on that, and the mileage rate changes every 3 months. So it's not been revised, guys, since I've been here. So it needs to be taken care of. Again, it only applies to out-of-state travel. Well, not really out-of-state, overnight travel, excuse me. So I would ask that we approve the consent items.
Do we have a motion to approve the consent items? Sheila Samples makes a motion. Do we have a second? Tammy Hardy makes a second. Any discussion? I'd like to call for a vote at this time. All in favor? Any opposed? It's a 4-0 vote, Rebecca. Okay. We're down to our superintendent report. Mr. Saylor.
Well, as always, you've got your personnel actions. That's an attachment that you've had the opportunity to look at. We have an update on enrollment and attendance numbers, and I was handed these as I came in here this afternoon, or as they were leaving this afternoon, that our attendance rate has really improved over the last few weeks. All of our schools, ADA so far for this week, high school is at 91%, middle school 92%, West Urban 94%, Estill Springs 95%. Our attendance has been fantastic. It just goes to show when everybody quits fussing and fighting, and we do the right thing for our kids, they're in school. And I really appreciate those numbers, and I appreciate our parents for having their kids in school. We are even starting to see some of our kids that had left school as numbers have started to improve. They're starting to come back, especially at the high school, middle school. We're not going to be in this forever. The main thing is that we try to keep the damage as low as possible when it comes to student achievement, because no matter how much someone works on a computer, it's not the same as being here every day and being in contact with their teachers and other personnel within our school district. Just to report back to you, Jeremy talked about this at the last time. We had applied for the Emergency Connectivity Fund grant, and if awarded, we were going to be able to go ahead and implement one-to-one computers at Estill Springs. Well, as you can see, right after that board meeting, we were awarded $150,000 for that purpose. So that means that as soon as the computers can be ordered and as soon as they can be set up and they can be distributed, this school district went from not one single student having a computer to every student having a computer, and also students that do not have internet access that are somewhere where their cell phone service can have internet as well for those devices. That is huge, especially when we get into winter months and we start having NTI days when we do have to have school because of bad weather, or we have to call off school because of bad weather. So this is really big. It's big for our district, and I appreciate Jeremy applying for that. So that is for your all's information as well. Court rules on tax credits. As you know, the judge has struck down House Bill 563, which we tried to have conversations with our legislators. We told them that we thought that it was unconstitutional. The judge has agreed with us that it's unconstitutional. I'm not quite sure yet. There's some debate about whether or not the entire bill was struck down, because the judge felt like, based in his arguments, is that it's hard to just strike down parts of a bill without striking down the entire bill. I'm not sure what that final action would be, but we know right now that as written, you cannot divert public funds for private education. And I thought something that was very interesting, and I hope the legislature has read that report. Year after year after year, we go to Frankfurt and we beg for funding. Schools are not being funded at the adequate amount that's required by the Kentucky State Constitution. And they can come up with whatever excuses. They need money for this, they need money for that, they need money for this. But the number one thing that the state has to do is fund public schools. And you can look at the figures over the last 12 years. 12 years ago, I believe it is, the figures tell us that 52% of the state budget went to fund public education, and now it's under 48%. So money is being taken from public education and being used in other areas. And the bottom line is that at some point in time, they're going to have to figure this out. They've got to figure it out. And we're ready to engage with our legislators and to try to help in this situation. And I think we have helped in this situation in terms of the revamping of the retirement system for new employees and some of the things that's been going on. I hope that it does not come to the point that we see another Rose case like we did in 1990. Because the judge in this ruling basically says, guys, you're in danger of here being in another situation where you're going to be sued for funding for public education. He basically sent the message, fix it. So that's a report to you all. The KDE school report card is out. You can click on this link. You can go to that and you can pull up each of our schools and you can see our most recent test score data. Anybody in the public can do that as well. As you know, not all of our students tested because a lot of our students were at home. We tried to test as many of them as we can. You did see declines in reading and math across the entire state. Of course, that's going to happen when kids are not in school and they're sitting behind the computer. But we're not making excuses. I've told our schools we're not going to make excuses. We've got to try to meet these kids at their as-is state. So we're working very hard to do that. And when you start seeing the schools in January, I think the middle school will present in January, they're going to be asked to give you an update on what they're working on, okay? And then the last one, of course, is ESS after-school tutoring. Some of our schools have already been doing tutoring, but we're in the process right now that starting the first week of November, on November 2nd, we're going to start providing some form of transportation for our students that don't have a way to stay after school. Right now, we have, I think, 5 of our bus drivers that are willing to drive these routes. So what we've done is we've tried to divide our county by north and south. So students that live on the north side of the county, and what we sort of did, we took the river and got out so far and went straight across and got Palmer and all that area onto the north side. Everything south of that line is, of course, the south side of the county, and we'll provide transportation to the north on Tuesdays, transportation to the south on Thursdays. If we're able to get more drivers to participate, we'll provide transportation 2 days a week for the entire county, but at least it's something. And there's no magic bullet for additional time. You can't create additional time. Additional time is what we need with our kids to help make up for the deficit. So hopefully that's going to help somewhat. And then going into that, on November 1, we're going to pull back on some of the policies in terms of we're going to allow student field trips during the day. Now, we're still going to wear masks. We're still going to do our mitigation strategies. Because it's getting colder weather, the numbers are down. Parents will no longer be asked to stand at the door out in the cold. They'll be able to come into the lobby or in that secure entry vestibule to wait for their child. But with numbers being down, we feel like we can do that. We can afford to do that. Now, the only thing we're asking, again, wear a mask, and do the things that you need to do to help us protect our kids and our staff. So we're going to start pulling back slowly on some of these initiatives. Anybody asks, well, what are we doing about masks? All you got to do is go to the website, look at your COVID-19 safe return to school. We don't even talk about masks until we're green or yellow. Right now, we're red and orange. We're not orange. We've not been orange since the summer. So we're still in the red. We don't even talk about masks. Masks are with us, and they're going to be with us for a while. So I just wanted to give you that update. That's it. That's all I've got. I appreciate your all's time.
Okay, we're down to a board member forum. Do we have anything from the board that you'd like to comment on, discuss, questions you may have?
I just want to bring up that how proud I am of the boys and girls soccer teams. They had a very great season, very great games, especially for girls at the state level. Obviously didn't end the way we wanted it to, but they played with integrity, and I've always been proud of the soccer team and our two coaches, Gary Beeler and Ryan Sutter. It's just a very great program that we have here in Estill County. It's only just going to get better.
And our band's been holding their own against the big bands in competitions, and the state's coming up and.
Even with quarantine, regionals are
Yes.
tomorrow, right? Or this coming Saturday?
Saturday at Madison Southern.
Mhm.
And then we also have other sports teams that are performing well. Our football
Oh.
team has a really good winning record this year. Girls volleyball has
They
been
did
doing
well.
really well. I certainly don't want to leave anyone out.
Golf boys and girls both won
The
regionals.
golf
so-
boys and girls
Yes.
won regions and went to the state and had a good showing at the state.
So, yeah.
Academic team starts this coming week. I saw a trip request for academic team starting, and so cheer competitions is getting ready to come up at the state level here in
Our
December.
cheerleaders have been at our football games, showing school spirit and pride, and homecoming is tomorrow night. They were having a parade tonight. We're starting to see a little bit of normalcy, and all of these kids, if I failed to mention someone, we are so proud of each and every one of them. We love our kids. We want to do right by our kids, and we're just glad to see some things return to normal.
And hopefully we can continue to move in
And
that
hopefully we
direction.
can continue to move in that direction. I think the kids are excited too. I mean, from everything I see, they're happy, they're joyful, they're ready to go to school. I see lots of things posted where there's a lot of learning and activities that are going on in each one of the schools. Our principals and teachers and our ancillary staff are doing an excellent job.
Yeah, I appreciate that very much. I know our staff appreciates that very much. One thing I didn't mention to you all is that through our ESSER funds, we're buying every employee in the district, regardless of vaccination status. We're buying every employee in the district a jacket. They get to choose their jacket that they want, and we're currently doing that. We hope to have those by Christmas. I just think that all of our employees have worked very hard. It's just a little thank you, and again, something to make up for some of the extra time. And don't think that, one thing that aggravates me, there's people that can point to other school districts where teachers have sat at home and they've worked from home and done. Our teachers have reported every day. I've not been the most popular person with our staff sometimes, but I think most of our teachers understand that we're employed by the taxpayers of Estill County. We answer to the taxpayers of Estill County. And we are going to work because it's expected for you guys to go to work. We should be at work. And we've done that, and they went above and beyond. They're spending a lot of time. And, 1% raise is not a lot of money to make up for when. And, they've really not questioned us. There's been a lot of school districts that's given huge bonuses, $3,000 and $4,000 bonuses. And I'm afraid they're going to get their hands slapped. We've seen guidance on that has said that giving bonuses to employees is not what that money was meant for, just straight out bonuses for work effort, additional work. So we've stayed away from that. But I do think we can do it in terms of incentives and things like that, and that's what we've tried to do. And I will make one last, I'm thankful for our kids.
Absolutely.
I'm thankful for our students. We see our attendance going up. Guys, we don't have kids fussing and fighting over masks. They're not fussing and fighting over masks. They're not throwing a fit. They're just coming to school. They just want to be together every day. They want to come to school and learn. I wish that everybody just gets on board, supports our kids. If our kids can get on board and do everything that needs to be done, surely to God, everybody else in this community can. Yes, Sheila?
Could you also kind of go over the guidelines we established for incentives for us participating in the clinics for the vaccinations?
Yes, the clinics that we supported in, or was part of in the vaccination clinics, they were part of community health days.
That's great.
And there's been vaccination clinics not only at both the high school and the middle school, but they're also part of what has occurred in our community as well. And I've been asked several times now, and I'll say this again, and it's been on our website. No public money in terms of taxpayer money, local taxpayer money, has been used for any of those incentives. And we had 5 partners, us and 4 other entities, and I don't think none of those entities are ashamed of who they are. It was Citizens Guarantee Bank, it was Carhartt, it was Markham Wallace Hospital, it was the Estill County Health Department, and it was the Estill County School District. And we felt like that we wanted to have a vaccination drive, to educate, motivate, and vaccinate. The educate was not saying that somebody was dumb. All it was saying, here's a brochure. Here's the facts about explanations. Don't get your facts from the internet. Don't go to Twitter. Listen to what doctors and the CDC is saying. I believe that they're trying to do the right thing to protect us, and that's what the T-shirts was all about. Hopefully, you can look, and hopefully if you look at the evidence, the true evidence of what's going on, then you would hopefully come around and you would be vaccinated. As you said earlier tonight, is there not another variant now that they've identified that could be more
10%.
viral
More
than
deadly.
what
More
we're
deadly.
dealing with the Delta variant? If that happens, I'm going to tell you, we're going to have another spike. And until we have people that's vaccinated that we can fight this down, we're going to continue to go in this cycle. And I do believe that to be a fact. So again, if everybody wants to know where the money came from, it came from private donations from those 4 groups. The T-shirts was bought for us using the federal ESSER dollars.
My clinic was in that too.
Your clinic was involved as well.
And we have another one scheduled that will be coming up.
November 4th at the
November-
Mount
at Mount
Carmel
Carmel Christian Church.
Christian Church.
And the
And-
same partners will be there.
That's right, and there'll be incentives, and yes, there'll be T-shirts there as well.
And
If-
a lot of people had giveaways there. They had educational information for people. We had a good turnout for the first one. And
Great.
The
Thank
big
you.
gripe I got on it was the kids that wasn't old enough to take it. It
Well,
wasn't fair to
that's
them.
coming.
That's coming.
That's coming. I've debated about when we're going to put information about it, but the FDA did approve it. I believe it was yesterday. It's got to
Yesterday.
go to the CDC.
yesterday also they said that you could, if you had Moderna, you could take Pfizer. If you had Pfizer, you could take Johnson &
Yeah, they
Johnson.
can
So you
interchange.
could interchange all
Yeah,
the vaccines.
especially the Johnson & Johnson vaccination to take a different dose, especially with that one. So we will be sending information home for our students that are ages 5 to 11, and we will be trying to get as many of those students vaccinated as possible, because I think as soon as we are, we can hopefully get back to what we call normal, everyday business.
Thank you, Mr. Slater.
Thank you.
Okay, were there any public comments? None?
There's been none.
Okay. I'd like to call for adjournment at this time. I need a motion. Sheila Samples makes a motion, Carrie Smallwood makes a second, and all in favor? And let's go home. Motion carries. Thank you all for being here tonight. We appreciate you.